Updog.
Updog. Updog.
Updog Sports Talk.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Updog Sports Talk. My name is Matt Miller. Joined with me is Justin McGovern over here. What's going on, Justin?
What's up, Matt? Just excited. The NFL season continues to get closer and closer. It's getting so close you can almost feel it. But today we need to start off by previewing possibly the worst of it. Actually, it is the worst division in the NFL.
By far.
We are ready to talk about the NFC East.
Yeah. Do we have to do this show? Because this is just going to end badly for everyone.
Well, usually it's obligatory to talk about this team first, and that is the Dallas Cowboys.
How about them Cowboys?
Last year, they were a massive disappointment. They were absolutely terrible. Part of it was because Dak went down. Another part of it was because their defense absolutely stunk. Now this year, they're on hard knocks. Dak might come back. They have a new attitude this year. Jerry's eating Egg McMuffins with tons of salt now. Matt, what are your first thoughts when you think of the Cowboys this year?
My very first thought is Big Mike looks just like Big Lebowski. Like with that beard coming in, it's just like, dude, like he's trying some things, but defense looks pretty bad as normal. I think it's a little bit better than last year, but they did lose their corners, so it's like, we'll see how that goes. I mean, they still have Jalen Smith. They got Boise State's
DeMarcus Lawrence.
They have DeMarcus Lawrence, but Van something?
Oh yeah, Leighton Vander Esch. He was a first round pick, but he's gotten hurt every single year.
The offense doesn't look too bad if Dak plays.
Mm-hmm.
I did hear a report that Dak may be out majority, if not all of the season, with his shoulder injury and other ailing injuries that are kind of left over. But yeah, it's not looking too great for the Cowboys, but in a division where every team will probably have a losing record, I mean, anything's possible.
There was
really good.
Sorry?
CeeDee Lamb looks really good.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there was encouraging news just today. Dak did return to 11-on-11 practice, so maybe there's a little bit more optimism there. They're definitely relying on Dak because, I mean, their backup is some guy named Cooper Rush, so they definitely need Dak to play to have success this year. If they do, I mean, they have a decent offensive line. It's not great, but it's definitely towards the top half of the NFL. They got some great receivers with, obviously, like you mentioned, CeeDee Lamb coming on.
Amari Cooper.
Gallup is still there. Amari Cooper, if he can ever get consistent, I'm not sure if he will. He's very talented, though. And then obviously the running back, they got Zeke and Pollard, who was coming on as well.
The offense looks pretty good if everyone stays healthy. Can they stop people on defense? That's the thing.
Yeah, it's a major if. Obviously, they added Micah Parsons, first-round pick this offseason.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be huge for them.
They still definitely have a lot of work to do with that defense. But up next, we have a team that went last year without a name in this division. As you can see, obviously here they are down to allegedly 3 names, which are out of the 8 on this list. I went ahead and called them what I believe is my favorite, and I think your favorite as well.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
Red Wolves.
I mean, don't ever do that again.
No, we're going to get an excuse to get grown people howling.
So, for the Washington football team, and that's what I'm going to call him for now, Jason Wright is the president of Washington, and he has been kind of changing everything around. But when you have an owner that is really racist and doesn't really care about the team and all that, Jason Wright is tasked with choosing the name, and this name is going to stick for so long. And it's like you have I'm going to say it only because it's their past, but the Redskins fans are not going to like it because they want the Redskins back. You have the small minority of Washington football team fans that want them to be the Washington football team. And then you have a large group of either they don't care or they don't they'll just go with whatever. As far as their team goes, they look the best out of this division to me. Ryan Fitzmagic coming in pretty hot. Antonio, is it Gibson or Gibson? Gibson. He did pretty well last year. Receivers are okay. I mean, Terry McLaurin, I wouldn't say would light up the world, but he's a good possession receiver, so you can give him his targets. But this team's built on their defense, and that defense every year has been improving. And I don't know what they will do in fantasy, but I know that on the field, it's going to translate to them getting at least a few wins.
Definitely, yeah. They managed to make the playoffs last year with Alex Smith basically on one leg. When you consider Ryan Fitzmagic there now, I mean, Fitzmagic is definitely a huge upgrade over that. Plus, old Taylor Heineke or whatever his name was, absolutely torched the Buccaneers in the playoffs. And almost led the Washington team foul name to a major upset. But he's there too still. Obviously, they got Gibson at running back. They plan to use him with McCaffrey, but they also have McKissick who can catch passes out of the backfield.
McKissick is a good number 2 punch for Gibson. So Definitely. They have the pieces. A lot of those pieces are who's that guy? But they can do it.
But yeah, I mean, it was pretty amazing what they did last year. And the receiver, Scary Terry, was pretty much the only receiver they had. Now they have him back, and then they added Curtis Samuel in the fold. Curtis Samuel kind of emerged onto the scene last year, and now has joined this team. We'll see how he transitions because receivers transition to new teams don't work out too often, but see how he does. They have a decent offensive line. But definitely this team is made on the defense led by Chase Young. This defense is absolutely incredible. One of the best in the NFL. And really, despite the fact that this team still isn't great, now we are talking very optimistically about them because they're fantastic compared to the rest of this division. But what definitely makes this team a tough out for everyone they play is going to be that defense.
Yeah. Next up.
Next on our list, we have the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
They're led by this guy, Nick Sirianni, who, I mean, honestly, he just looks like this all the time. The guy always looks confused. Allegedly, he's supposed to be a really good X's and O's guy, but man, if you hear him talk, this guy he sounds stupid. Honestly, I know the two of us here, we don't have much room to talk. We sound stupid ourselves.
I mean, he's a Kobayashi guy. No, it's Joey Chestnut all the way.
Yeah, Joey Chestnut every single day. One hot dog can take 35 minutes off your life. Kobayashi less than Chestnut in that regard. But looking at this team too, it's a bit of a rough one. They got Jalen Hurts, who is very mobile. He kind of set the world on storm here late in the year last year because he could run really well and he was able to hit some receivers, but it'll be tough. They don't have a good offensive line, and Jalen Hurts is not accurate at all.
He's not accurate, but I don't think the offensive line helped. One thing that I did notice was he was randomly pulled in a Week 17 game last year. At the end of the season, they were still in the hunt to win the division or at least make it in the playoffs. And then he was randomly pulled and they put in Nate Sudfeld. They actually did the same thing to him last preseason game. They had him ready to go. He was all dressed, and then less than 10 minutes before the game, they scratched him for a non-COVID illness. He looked perfectly fine. He was warming up. He was running. He was perfectly fine. Then they scratched him. And like he has that I'm confused look on his face in week 17. And he still has it now. So like, I think Jalen Hurts has proven that he's a good enough leader. He was at Alabama. He was at Oklahoma. They just need to use him the right way. They need to use run pass option for a lot of their plays, and they need to go short passes. They can't, like, if they want to take a shot down the field, they're going to be able to do that, but they're going to have to make sure those receivers are open. They have Devonta Smith, who is amazing, and that'll help a lot. And he's looked good in camp, and they have Rieger.
Yeah, they have Rager, who they obviously had in the first round last year, and he didn't get to make much of an impact because he was hurt a lot. They also have
Ertz. They still have Ertz.
They still have a few random guys too, like Fulgrim, who had a random moment of going off last year. No one has heard of him. They have Greg Ward Jr., the converted quarterback
from Houston.
A weird set of weapons here, but I mean, they have more than they've had in years past. And then obviously they have Dallas Goedert also at tight end. You mentioned Ertz already.
Yeah. I mean, the defense is okay. It's nothing like it was in 2017, 2018, somewhere in there.
Oh, definitely not. Their secondary is still a bit of a mess.
The Eagles have a future. It's if they can get the coaching staff right and they can do this the right way. If they don't do it the right way, they're going to screw the whole thing up and end a lot of careers way earlier than they need to.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. This is sometimes when a new coach comes in, they consider year zero kind of a mulligan year. I almost think this franchise is such a mess right now that they need 2 mulligan years.
Because I don't think they made the right decision with coach, but back to the whole Texans hiring their coach kind of thing, I think the ownership knew the team was going to be bad. And I don't think they wanted to have this big hire like the Raiders did with John Gruden. I think they wanted to put a fall guy, and if they ended up being good, then that guy gets to keep his job. And if they end up doing bad, he takes all the blame. They cut him, they get someone else in. I think they're going to do that, and they might end up in a cycle like the Browns did. Maybe not as long, but I don't know. Eagles can go either way. This season, probably not for the better, but in the future, they have the tools to make it decent, to make it a decent future. But they'll have to get past this year, and this year is probably going to be rough for them.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree a little bit though on the coaching selection process. The Eagles have a bit of a different process. Usually what they're looking for in a coach is they're looking for a younger coach that they can kind of control a little bit. They want to have different guys making different decisions, and they want the coach to basically just talk to the media and, run the offensive scheme. That's pretty much all they want the head coach to do there. Obviously, that's what Doug Peterson filled the role for a long time, but then obviously after winning the Super Bowl, Peterson wanted the bigger role, and that became a whole mess.
Well, also Frank Reich left, and then that offense just wasn't the same.
Yeah, agreed.
So who do we got next? Actually, I know we have next, but go ahead and say it.
All right, next up, the New York Football Giants.
The G-Man.
So this team has made a lot of headlines for all the wrong reasons this offseason. Just tons of fights and all sorts of different things. And I would say most of all this season, we're going to find out, is Daniel Jones ever going to make it? Is he ever going to break through? Or is he just going to be a bust?
Yeah, and about that fight, it was like it was one of those things where those guys just like got into it, and then like there's been fights all over the place during these joint practices.
Yeah,
but this fight was different because it was inter squad fight, and then
they did get one with the Patriots today too, and then everyone had to run laps.
Yeah, but they've had to run laps. They've had to do their 100-yard sprints. Like they have had to pay for it. And that's what I like about Joe Judge. He's a no bullshit kind of guy. Like he's not going to take you fighting. He's going to fight for you if something came down to it, but like going to have that on his own team. And like, yes, like you said, this is Daniel Jones' year to figure it out. Is he going to have a future? But at the same time, it's like ever since he got there, almost every single person on the planet has just ripped into him. And it's like, well, I mean, Eli Manning struggled for however many years before that, and we just said Eli wasn't that great, but like,
yeah,
we don't give Daniel Jones the benefit of the doubt. Like, he has had a pretty bad camp, but I think part of it is just getting used to everything because everything's kind of changing there. And like the
yeah.
defense is getting a little bit better. The offensive line has not gotten better at all. And then the receivers really haven't gotten better at all. They're kind of about the same.
Well, don't forget they added Kenny Galladay this offseason. That kind of
That's true. But I mean, it's like,
that finally gives them a number one option.
but I mean, he's like a 1B option. He's like a not like a clear cut number one option. Like at least when he was in Detroit, there was two other options to take the coverage off of him.
Yeah. Well, don't forget first round pick Darius Tony's there too. He'll add some speed to the receiving core. Sterling Shepard finally is reduced to a better role for him, more of like a slot guy.
And Evan Ingram is there.
The third guy, Evan Ingram, hasn't entirely panned out. He always seems to have a lot of potential, but hasn't really performed up to it. It's going to be a major question for this team. Saquon Barkley can ever get healthy. It feels like he has to.
But I mean, like if like what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to make sure that Saquon's is 100%, and if he's 100%, they can do the same thing that the Browns will have to do. They're going to have to take it old school, and they're going to have to run the ball a lot. And then they're going to have to use Daniel Jones as a complement in order to progress Daniel Jones. So if they do that, they can compete. I just don't think they're going to go very far. I think it's Washington's to lose, really.
Definitely. I mean, it's going to be really tough for them. It's definitely an uphill battle. I don't know why the hell they didn't address the offensive line this offseason. I mean, really, they actually had a worse offensive line than the Cincinnati Bengals last year. When Saquon Barkley can't run anywhere, you know you have a problem. And the Giants refused to fix that this offseason. I think that's where they made a huge mistake. I think Galladay was a really good move. I like that move. But, I mean, they had to address the offensive line. They just didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Defense is a huge key to the team. That defense caught fire late in the year, and that's what kind of allowed the Giants to make a huge late playoff push, despite the fact that they started the season like 0-7, I think, last year. 0-7, 0-8? I feel like it was at least 0-7.
I think it was 0-8.
Yeah, but it allowed them to make a playoff push despite that. Obviously, almost the division sucks, but they have a strong defense, but definitely that offensive line is going to be the detriment of this team, I think.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
But time for our predictions, Matt. What order do you got the teams finishing?
It depends on health. If everyone in the division is healthy, or at least the star players, I have Washington, Dallas. Part of me just wants to say the Eagles and then the Giants because you can't do anything without an offensive line. I feel like the Eagles' offensive line is better, but if it comes down to injuries, Eagles might get second and the Cowboys might get last. Like if Dak is gone the whole year, pretty much throws the Cowboys into last place.
Yeah. Well, we're going to be close, but not quite. We'll agree on the first team. I have the Washington Red Wolves in first place.
Did I say football team or did I say Redskins?
I think you said football team.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, but no, I'm choosing their name for them. They need to pick the Red Wolves. Second, Dallas Cowboys. Third will be the Giants. Fourth will be the Eagles. The Eagles will be one of the worst teams in the NFL.
I mean, they do have Joe Flacco. So in case things go real bad.
Absolutely terrible in that preseason.
I know.
He looked
that's on par with this division. It's just so bad. Like literally we can make these predictions and it could go the opposite way. Like somehow the Eagles could win it. That's just how weird this division is.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a very good chance the winner has a losing record again.
Yeah. Well, got anything else, Justin?
No, this division stinks. I don't think anyone needs to spend any more time here.
Nope. All right. That is all, folks. We'll see you next time.
Have a good one.